Well, hello there, Space Monkeys. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, your friendly neighborhood political shit talker. And today we're going to be talking about 3 or 4 actual good stories, believe it or not. Secondly, we're going to talk about some progressives actually won in their primaries yesterday, which is exciting. There are a lot of people out there, I won't name names, but you know who you are, who would say people like me are actively detrimental against these people, these progressives running for Congress. I would argue against that. I didn't say anything about Nina Turner until the night before her election when AOC finally endorsed her, and the Congressional Progressive Caucus, like 2 days before that, did not endorse her. I didn't mention Nina Turner. I didn't mention either of these two people either. I've been completely apathetic towards them this entire election season, and they won, and I am overjoyed. I actually hope that these two people, who I will name in a second, will go over their stories. I hope they go into Congress, in the Senate in this case, and do what the squad failed to do. That would be wonderful. So we'll talk about them second. First and foremost, the big news of the day, which I was cleaning out my gutters earlier, and I heard this, and I had to jump down off my ladder and come inside immediately. So as it turns out, ding dong, the witch is dead. Nina Jankowicz, the Minister of Truth, has resigned from the Department of Homeland Security. And as you guys know, I was against this from the start. I did not call this, but it doesn't surprise me at all. She's about my age, and the amount of shit she had to go through as basically the pilot run for the Minister of Truth was astronomical. She got memed out, and it basically ended up being like, can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And so it's like that scene in the end of the that Simpsons episode where they're ripping off Harry Poppins or Mary Poppins, and it's Sherry Bobbins, and she flies away with her umbrella off into the distance and then gets sucked into a 747 jet engine. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Sherry Bobbins got shredded, and it makes me very happy to see. So I'm going to read you here from Yahoo, and it's interesting the way that they frame this. A lot of the neoliberal sites are going to be framing it this way. Let's listen to this. Nina Jankowicz resigns from the DHS after Disinformation Governance Board is put on pause following right-wing backlash. Now, I assure you, it was absolutely right-wing backlash, but it was also left-wing backlash. It was basically anybody who doesn't want a Ministry of Truth. Every lefty channel that is actually a lefty channel, not like TYT, those capitalist, imperialist, wolves in sheep's clothing channels, real lefty channels, were all vehemently against the Minister of Truth and the Ministry of Truth across the board, and very vocal about it. So this is framed as though this was harassment by the right wing. I assure you, it was harassment from everybody. She got memed the fuck out. She couldn't handle it, so she's done. Now they have to go out there and find a more adept liar who can handle that kind of heat. I have some suggestions at the end of this, but let's go back to reality here and talk about what's going on. Nina Jankowicz, the author and researcher appointed to lead the Department of Homeland Security's new Disinformation Governance Board, resigned from the DHS on Wednesday, representatives for Jankowicz told Insider. The decision follows weeks of targeted harassment against Jankowicz from right-wing critics, as well as broad conservative criticism of the Anti-Misinformation Initiative, which we all know, they say conservative and right-wing in the same sentence there. So it's like, yeah, they're framing it obviously like they were harassing her. No, nobody in this country other than the neoliberal elites who need to protect Biden and his awful approval rating, and all of Congress, which is run by Democrats, their horrible job that they've done so far. That's the only people that want to have a Ministry of Truth. Everybody else was against this from the start, myself included, and I'm a far lefty, so be even-keeled. Admit that everybody hated this, not just conservatives. And she got memed out, and she couldn't handle it. It makes me happy as a clam. So, ding dong, the witch is dead. And as I said before, I have some suggestions, and perhaps one of these people will be getting a call in the next couple of days if they haven't already. I think that perhaps Biden is in his office right now like, who can we get as a new Minister of Truth? Who can we get? How about Psaki? Psaki, what's she up to? And then one of his advisors goes, No, Psaki's got that very big MSNBC contract. I don't think we can outbid them. And so Biden thinks for a second. He goes, how about Sarah Huckabee-Sanders? What's she up to nowadays? And the advisor goes, no, No, your fan base will never go for it. She told all those lies for Trump, and the neoliberal establishment and most of the rich wine-tasting soccer moms in this country have not forgotten that she has been lying for Trump and not the neoliberals, so that won't work. Plus, I think she's playing running back for the Cleveland Browns nowadays, and I don't know. We don't have deeper pockets than them. So it's not going to be Sarah Huckabee-Sanders. It's not going to be Jen Psaki. Maybe Rachel Maddow? Think about it. Again, you're going to have to figure out a way to match the contract that she just left behind at MSNBC, and that was like fucking like top dollar contract. So I don't know. We'll just have to see who it is. But, methinks that Psaki, Maddow, and Sarah Huckabee-Sanders possibly, if they can wean her off of her professional football league contract, that would be sweet. That would be sweet, Minister of Truth. I think she can handle it. Maybe Sean Spicer. What's he up to nowadays? So anyway, I digress. Let's go talk about the two progressives who actually won their primaries yesterday. Both were actually for the Senate, which is pretty cool. One I've mentioned before, when I first started PFC, I mentioned that Charles Booker was running against Amy McGrath last time for the Kentucky Senate. And Amy McGrath, they had to spend like over $100 million on her campaign to defeat Booker, and she just barely won. It was actually quite close. At the time, I was really, really sad, but Booker has seemed rhetorically very much like the Squad and even nerfed out more than the Squad, so he's kind of lost my attention over the last year. But he actually ran and won handily yesterday. We're going to read to you here very quickly from Truth Out. Former Kentucky Rep. Charles Booker overwhelmingly won the state's U.S. Senate Democratic primary on Tuesday, taking the progressive candidate one step closer to his goal of unseating far-right Republican Senator Rand Paul in November. With about 97% of votes counted as of Wednesday morning, Booker has won over 73% of the votes in the state, beating out the next most popular candidate, Joshua Blanton, by over 60 points. So, again, this does not make me angry. I want progressives to win. Is he better than the guy that he was going up against? I'm sure he is, at least rhetorically. And I'd like to point out that both of these wins are chances for us to get to run the Nina experiment that I've always talked about. The more we get progressives in there, and the more they don't actually do anything, which I predict they will, that's what the Squad has done, all the evidence is to that they will go in there, they'll get sold out in some way or another, and they won't do shit, and they'll be great on Twitter, but won't actually get anything done. If we run that experiment and these guys make it, and they fail, it means that I was right. If they go in there and change everything, and we end up getting Medicare for all in a floor vote, and they leverage the Biden administration, and then, of course, the Trump administration, because he's going to win again in 2024, if they get in there and actually get some things done, and leverage the president, and leverage other people in their caucuses, and outside their caucuses, then I will be very happy. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that this is going to set some of these people up to actually go in there and do exactly what the Squad has done, and that's what makes me specifically very, very excited about this last one. By the way, Booker is going up against Rand Paul. He's not going to win. It's highly unlikely. Rand Paul's going to clean house. He's actually very popular in his district. Highly unlikely that Booker makes a run at it. But, I've been wrong before. Anyway, the second one that makes me very, very excited, actually, is John Fetterman actually won. And we're going to read to you here from Yahoo. John Fetterman wins Democratic nomination for Pennsylvania Senate seat on day he is fitted for pacemaker after stroke. And again, leave it up to Yahoo to immediately in the title to mention a health issue twice in the title against a progressive candidate, the way that they went after Bernie Sanders when he had the heart attack. They have to mention that he has a health problem to make people not vote for the progressive candidate, but it didn't end up mattering. He actually won quite handily here. And Fetterman, unlike Booker, I think actually has a pretty solid chance of winning the general. And I'll explain to you why in a second. Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman won the Democratic nomination for a key U.S. Senate seat on the same day he underwent a procedure to implant a pacemaker after suffering a stroke. You have to put both those health issues or both those scary buzzword health-related issues in the first sentence. Otherwise, you don't get to work at these mainstream media outlets. Mr. Fetterman received the news while in the hospital and said he is back from a procedure and was resting as he thanked the voters. Quote, I just got out of a procedure to implant a pacemaker with a defibrillator in my heart. We got the all clear and it was successful, and then I'm back on track for a full recovery, he tweeted on Tuesday night. And let's see here. U.S. President Joe Biden congratulated Mr. Fetterman in a statement, saying electing him to the Senate, quote, would be a big step forward for Pennsylvania's working people. Democrats are united around John, who is a strong nominee, will run a tough race, and can win in November, Mr. Biden said. For once, I actually agree with Joe Biden. I think that Fetterman actually has a decent chance of winning. We'll just have to see exactly how, if he's a good, strong, progressive candidate, we'll have to see exactly how much he's sabotaged on the way in there. Smeared and sabotaged left and right. I can guarantee it. Hundreds of millions of dollars will probably go into defeating him. Mr. Fetterman was absent from the election night event as he underwent a procedure in the hospital. He confirmed suffering a stroke on Friday and being treated at Penn Medical Lancaster General Hospital. Notice how long it takes for them to actually get to the results. They just focus on his health issues for the first, 2 paragraphs. Yep, here's more quote about him. There was a clot. He was an AFib, not for too long. His wife, Giselle Fetterman, attended the night event on his behalf and spoke to a cheering crowd after he was projected to win. She assured them he was recovering well and that the doctors were able to act quickly, and John is going to be back on his feet in no time. He now goes on to face Dr. Oz, which that sounds like an actual cartoon, but it's not. Dr. Oz, and there was another guy. It looks like it might be a runoff, actually. I'm trying to remember what the guy that Dr. Oz tied with, McCormick. Former hedge fund executive David McCormick, and they were neck and neck as I checked last night, so they might have a runoff. We'll just have to see. So anyway, Fetterman is different than Charles Booker in that I think he actually is a strong Democratic candidate, and a lot of it has to do with the way that he speaks. He does not mince words. He speaks with candor, and that makes him a strong candidate, and that's why he won heavily. He won. It was like 70-30. So this is important because if it turns out that Fetterman goes on to defeat either Dr. Oz or the hedge fund manager guy, we will actually get to run the Nina experiment. Because if there is somebody, if you haven't seen John Fetterman, he's like 7 feet tall. He's huge, and he was a Bernie guy. He's like pro-Medicare for all, for legalizing weed. I've heard he has some issues on Israel, but there are some good things to focus on there. If he runs a strong campaign and is willing to do what Nina Turner was not willing to do, which is actually speak to the people, be aggressive, go out there and attack your opponents, and don't hold back, he might win, and then we'll get to see if a 7-foot guy that has all of the right things that the progressives want, let's say the boutique left, he ticks all of their check marks, and he goes in there and he doesn't actually inspire change, we'll get to watch Kyle Kulinski come out on his show and go, well, I don't think he's actually corrupt, but I think that 7'1" guy out there is spineless. And then everybody will laugh at Kulinski like we've been doing for the last 2 years because, of course, if John Fetterman actually went on Kyle Kulinski's show and talked to him for 5 minutes and Kyle Kulinski said, I think you're spineless. I think you mean well, but you're spineless. We'd get to watch John Fetterman yell at Kyle Kulinski and have him whiz his shorts on his actual show live. That would be kind of cool. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I've been right before. So anyway, I actually hope he does go in there. And then the boutique left will get the chance, likely, to watch a 7-foot tall, basically, an MMA star go in there, tough as nails, has the ability to grab AOC and Nancy Pelosi in each hand, one in each hand, and have them physically talk to each other and get things done if he wants to. An imposing vehicle of socialism. And he'll go in there and he'll probably sell out too. And then we'll get to watch him perform exactly like the Squad did. He won't do a goddamn thing. He might tweet well. And again, then that will give us more ammunition in the future. It's like, well, if John Fetterman can't go in there and impose his will and get some people scared and rally some people behind him, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get? So, lastly, I'd like to point out that I think that Fetterman, he matches an image that resonates with Americans. He just kind of looks and sounds like an everyman and a leader, so that resonates with people across the aisle. Maybe Republicans who are kind of disenfranchised and don't like where the Republican Party going right now think that they're too elitist. They take a look at somebody like Fetterman and go, you know what, I think I can get behind this guy. He speaks to a worker like me. I'm a working class Republican. I might look into somebody like John Fetterman. And this is evidence that I think my original strategy, talking about how to run a successful Green Party or third party run of some sort, has to do with picking somebody who has the balls to go out there and speak with candor about their opponents, and also exudes a sort of charisma that Americans resonate with, which is something like Jesse Ventura. This is all the more reason to think that Jesse Ventura would be a great candidate for a third party to just help them get on the map. He can take the heat. Rhetorically, I agree with him on, let's say 80% of things. That's good enough for me. If he runs a strong campaign where he campaigns against the duopoly and the corruption within both parties, then I'll start looking at somebody like that, and I'll start boosting and highlighting his campaign every way I can. But until I see somebody start running campaigns like that, I don't think that there's any chance of getting any more momentum for third parties. I think it's going to be very difficult unless you pick somebody who actually runs, that exudes the same charisma and the same sort of personality that John Fetterman does. And I think that it gives him an advantage. I think that it actually is going to bode well for him. Whether he will win or not, I'm not sure. I think it'll probably be close, and he's got a good chance. Better than Charles Booker, I would say. So I'm not going to promote him anymore unless he really goes out there and starts, firebombing the Democratic Party. That seems unlikely now that he's defeated the Democratic Party. It seems that he'll just turn his sights on the Republicans, which means I won't talk about him again until he wins or loses in the general election. But congratulations. I really hope these people do win. It would be nice. Then we'll get to actually see whether these two rather strong progressive candidates can go in there and turn the ship around. Do you really think that's going to happen, guys? I don't think so. I think you can be 7 feet tall, and it's just going to take the certain pressure point on him, the way it does with everybody that goes in that sounds like the squad did 5 years ago, and now you've seen what they've become. They're an abomination. I don't think that Fetterman nor Charles Booker are beyond that kind of selling out. I don't think that they're strong enough. I don't think anybody is to run within the Democratic Party and actually cause change. So I'd love to be proven wrong, and I congratulate these two guys. And it would be hilarious to watch Fetterman get in there and fail epically, and then watch the boutique left have to backpedal like crazy, because if you can't get a guy in there, or if you get a guy in there that's 7 feet tall, who intimidates everybody he looks at, and is actually a firebrand, and he can't get anything done, and he gets nerfed once he gets in there, that's all the more evidence to people like me being right, in that you can send anybody as strong as you want through the Democratic Party, and they're going to get nerfed once they get in there. It's a graveyard for progressives. So go Fetterman. I hope you win. I really hope you do. And it would. I don't think that Booker will. I think Fetterman has a decent chance to win, actually. So, but the main news of the day, guys, this is something to celebrate. Janky Jankowicz, as she was known in high school, which is, I don't actually know that. That would be misinformation. But I'd like to think that she was known as Janky. That makes me smile to think about that. Janky Jankowicz, the truth minister, has resigned. It's just a matter of who's going to replace her and how they're going to proceed forward. The neoliberals are definitely not giving up on the ministry of truth. It's just a matter of finding somebody who can take the heat. And we'll just have to see who that is. There's only a handful, like I said. Could be Maddow. Could be Brian Stelter, maybe. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? Perhaps they won't take anybody that has ever worked for a Trump administration, but there's plenty of liars on that end as well. I don't know. We'll just have to see exactly who it turns out to be. Maddow, Psaki, maybe Huckabee-Sanders, but we'll just have to see. Keep fighting that good fight out there, guys. I love you. I will get you the next chapter and a half of Black Shirts and Reds within the next 2 days. We'll see you.